Hello, welcome and welcome back to the Purpose and Glow podcast. My name is Pamela, your host. I've got a guest in studio. I'm excited to have a conversation with her. I'm actually looking forward to having a conversation with her. But before I give her a brief moment for her to introduce herself, I'd like to tell you about the Purpose and Glow Hub. So the Purpose and Glow Hub was built or came about or is centered around two pillars. The first pillar being the podcast, where we have conversations around wellness, business, and wedding talks by myself and with my guests as well. The second pillar is the community, which is also divided into two, right? The first being the book club, where we meet on a monthly basis, read one book per month, just books that can help us grow, develop, personal development, just one book per time to just better ourselves. And then the second part of the community is the collective, where productivity meets purpose, using the 12-week system to grow and just achieve our goals using the 12-week system. So, Mavis,
Yes.
thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me, and welcome to the Purpose and Glow podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, for those that do not know you yet, how would you introduce yourself?
So ultimately my name is Mavis Elias. Some know me as Mavis Braga. The Mavis Braga part of my name comes from the time that I did radio for 10 years. And so ultimately I'm an academic at heart, and I've really extensively shared my journey, having been a Chevening scholar. In addition to that, I currently work in philanthropy, because I think development is something that's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
And then I am a daughter, a friend, a partner, and ultimately I'm really just somebody who is trying to figure life out. I think all of us are trying to figure life out, and at a stage in my life where the whys are being asked, the existential questions around purpose are being asked, but more than that, I'm really just I'm a young Namibian philanthropist and somebody who really believes and is passionate about education and development.
Oh, love that. So I would like us to go into a few icebreakers.
Come, that's fine.
The first one is, what do you do? What do you enjoy doing outside? What do you enjoy doing for fun outside work and your responsibilities?
For fun, I'm an avid reader. I've always been, ever since I was young. I was the child who after school would find herself in the library, and that habit has stayed with me since. In addition to that, I am an aspiring, consistent gym goer, meaning that I go to the gym, which is something that I really enjoy, but I'm still waiting for the consistent part to sort of cement itself. So I'm an aspiring, consistent gym goer.
And also, I see you did the marathon today. Congratulations.
Thank you. I did the Vivo Marathon. Oh, I am so proud of myself. It's my first marathon. I've never done one before. But I almost chickened out this morning because it's like, yeah, 10 kilometers sounds like it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But I did it. I got 2 medals because I basically partook in 2 simultaneously, which is quite great for first time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I
Thank you so much.
I've never done a marathon yet, so that sounds like congratulations.
The medals are worth it. Oh, yes. The suffering through those 10 kilometers. Oh, once I got the medal, I was like, no. I completely forgot about the route.
Yeah.
But I actually recommend it. I do. I think we should do those type of things more in life.
Lovely. Next question, or icebreaker rather, is what's your favorite color? And why do you think it reflects you and your personality?
So white is my favorite color. I would have been wearing it today if this was not a sort of video, because white doesn't oftentimes doesn't always reflect well, and I didn't know. And so it's white, but that's because I'm a minimalist. I really like open spaces. I like less is more for me. So I'm not those. I don't like clutter in the least. So white.
Okay. What were you listening to on your way here?
Radio was playing. It was an old song. Tamia was playing on the radio. Still.
Still.
Yeah, I was listening to 99 on my way here. Tamia still.
No, I look at you because I'm like, when was the last time I listened to radio?
Nah, I love listening to radio because it's really a space where you get a lot of news. Especially if you can't always get your hands on an actual newspaper. So I use it as a platform to stay engaged in current affairs.
I should start doing that because I'm not updated with current affairs.
And I mean, one of the you could feasibly listen to Apple Music and then radio. So I go between the two because I believe that a morning route is worship for me to start the day, set the pace for the day.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, if I do find myself in the car, then I listen to radio.
TikTok or Instagram, and why?
I'm not on TikTok anymore. I got off TikTok because of the doom scrolling.
Yeah.
I know that it's a platform that has a lot to give and opportunities come plenty for those that do find themselves on TikTok, and I understand the value of it. For me, however, I found that the doom scrolling was ultimately just getting completely out of hand, where I get home and 3 hours can pass that I cannot account for simply doing this. So I was also off Instagram for a year. Recently decided to go back and put it back on my phone. So more Instagram and TikTok. But I have a very interesting relationship with social media.
Interesting relationship.
Yeah, I deem it interesting.
I'll not ask any better. What's one small thing? What is the one small thing lately that has been putting a smile on your face?
A smile, popcorn. So I for a short while I've decided to just sort of spend time with family more frequently than usual because of work. And my little brother makes me popcorn. And I love it so much, such that I'd literally call him on my way to my parents' home. And I would tell him, please make the popcorn so that when I arrive, it's warm, hot. Popcorn. Popcorn makes me smile.
Popcorn!
It's random, right?
Yes.
Oh, but it makes me so happy. Like, I love it. I love it so much. Or maybe Shafa just makes it well. I don't know, but popcorn.
I think I was expecting something else. So when you said popcorn,
and I think it's the simpler things in life, right? I think we always want to sort of the bigger things and the bigger achievements, which do come by and honestly are of value. But I'm also starting to find that if I can pay attention to the little things along the way, there's a lot of value to gain because then it almost puts color in your life because you're appreciating the menial things that happen day to day.
True. And it also just sorry, it just makes life even more simpler because your expectations are not too high and the demand, the pressure, it does not get worse and worse because you're trying to fill in that gap.
It's interesting that you would say that because I was having a thought about how oftentimes we aspire for the bigger things in life. So you would sit and actually not give yourself the pleasure of the little things because you've got these big ticket items, and until those are ticked off, it's almost like the smaller things don't matter. Where somebody might tell themselves, until I can afford a AMG, I'm gonna stay in the car that I drive. And I think it sort of takes away from the journey of getting to the AMG, that there should be incremental steps that are taken to get to the bigger thing, and that those incremental steps are equally important. And so I think in trying to sort of like reverse engineer the big things is that what are the small little things along the journey that are actually worth noting for starters and also deriving joy from.
True.
So I'm enjoying popcorn as one of my big things.
Are you more of a stay in like person, or like this spontaneous adventurous person?
As I've grown at my very young age, I started to stay in more. And I think seasonally it mattered because there was a time where one needs to cement yourself in self without per se constantly looking for external stimulation in order to be able to find happiness, joy, and contentment. So I think over the past, even say 5 years, I've been a homebody, but I've made an active decision that I do want to put more color back into my life, and that I've done a lot of work on self over the past 5 years, and I think that season was necessary.
Yeah.
But I do feel that I'm now stepping into a season where I want to feel the vibrancy of life, to feel the color of life.
Yeah.
Which means that while my normal inclination would be to go home, get a cup of coffee, sit and watch Netflix or whichever it is that you'll do at home, I'm now sort of prompting myself a bit more to do more different things. Hence why I went to go do a marathon today, just to get out there, because life can be colorful if you so choose to look at it that way. So I think I am a homebody naturally, but I am working towards getting in the outdoors more because I think it's healthier.
Yeah. What's the one thing people will be surprised to learn about you? Being a public figure, you're out there. I know a lot of people know much about you, but what's the one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
That I'm introverted. You know, this is an actual argument between my friends and I, that I'm introverted. I did radio for 10 years, which meant that I was also doing a lot of public platform things like emceeing and so forth. But when I would go do an MC gig, I never stayed after the event because I give energy. As an introvert, you give out your energy. So rooms don't energize me. I need to go home to go and go recharge, which is something that my friends are like, no, you're extroverted. No, I am actually introverted because I recharge alone. I don't recharge from crowds. Crowds drain me. Like when I get off stage, I physically have to go sit by myself to just recharge and sort of like recalibrate my energy levels and so forth. So I am introverted. And people want to argue about it, which is absolutely fine, but I think I know myself better than most, I would presume. I'm introverted. Are you surprised?
Yes.
It's true though. Like if I was to come from even just like emceeing, I'd probably need two days downtime just to recharge. Honest.
And it's always the people who have careers or just something that requires the public that are like introverted. Have you noticed that?
It does happen. I mean, there are other people who recharge from being on stage and giving energy, and they want the energy of other people to sort of like recharge them. But that's just, it has never been me. It has never been me.
Okay, I think we should go into the actual episode because I'm already learning a lot about you that I'm even afraid to ask my next question. Who is Mavis?
Who is Mavis?
Just for us for us to have a better understanding as we go into the actual episode or conversation rather.
I think I'm someone who loves people now, and I think when I say I'm someone who loves people, the context around it is that I derive immense joy from journeying with someone to sort of becoming the best version of themselves. In that I absolutely enjoy conversations of sort of like self-development with people. Very happy to often lend a helping hand where somebody might reach out and say, hey, I want to start up a charity organization. How do I go about it? Like that gives me joy. And although I think I'm still on the journey of truly being able to cement what my true purpose is, I do understand that it has a lot to do with helping people. And I actually had to take a step back because I started doing charity work when I was 19 years old. And then 10 years in, I decided to take a step back to reevaluate why I was doing this. Because I also know that oftentimes philanthropists and people who do operate in the development and so sector, sometimes it's from a place of like self-gratification. And sometimes it's very mixed in that the person does it to make themselves feel better. And I just wanted to evaluate whether that's who I am, to make sure that it doesn't come from a place of a tinge of narcissism or just self-gratification that I did so well and pat yourself on the shoulder and you think and so forth. So after having done that exercise, I then was able to find that it was never about the self-gratification and being able to sort of self-grandiose, you know. It truly was about helping people, and then having to take that question further in that there is help that's tangible and that can actually alter and change your life, and then there's help that sometimes is really about feel good and being able to differentiate between the two. So that's how I think about the answer.
Are you basically active with charity right now?
So I do it now behind the scenes,
Okay.
which is something that's very new for how it is that had gone for a long time. So currently the EMLA Foundation is in partnership with St. Paul's. And so there's a lady who's currently the forefront.
Yeah.
Her name is Miss Leonie Fisser. And she, together with a society on the St. Paul's campus, are currently running what we call the street store with the EMLA Foundation banner. And I've taken the back seat in that while I answer true questions around impact. Because when one is looking at doing charity work and I come and I give you clothing, it's an important part of what you need. There is a further step around how do I sustainably get you to a place where you don't need something like that. And so the street stores are still running. We do the work with the kids at St. Paul's because they're the ones that sort the clothes, they're the ones that actually also donate to the street store, which is amazing. And it's almost incredible what we've been able to achieve over the past, now I think going 13 to 14 years. But in addition to that, there's another question lingering around how do you sustainably do this?
Yes. You said you started at the age of 19. Why?
It's a good question. So I grew up with a family where they were the first generation poverty cycle breakers, meaning that my grandparents did not have formal education, which means that my parents had to basically go against the odds to be able to come out and afford a decent living. And so I always asked myself the question that if my parents could make it and make something of themselves despite their circumstances, what's my excuse? Because I didn't have to beat odds. Education was paid for. I had what I needed, sometimes more than what I needed. And so that question stayed with me. And I was very young when I started asking that question around if my parents could innately make it in life despite their odds, what is my excuse? And so at the age of 19, I decided that with what I have, I would want to make a difference in other people's lives and actually get up and do things for more than just myself. Because I think when we go out and sort of start careers, it's about self, it's about your journey, getting ahead, making money. But I was like, I can think, I can write, surely I can write a proposal and get some funding. So for my 19th birthday, that was the first street store that we held when I was at 19 first year university. It almost sounds very otherworldly, but I had help. I had friends that were willing to show up and volunteer. And that's actually where I met Miss Leonie, by the way. So I met this Miss Leonie at the very first street store that we held with the EMLA Foundation.
I think it's because of the age. At the age of 19, 19-year-olds are thinking about themselves. They are thinking about, what is the word? Enjoyment, basically. Not that, I'm not saying that you did not, but also just having that level of understanding. Or maybe it's because you said you saw it firsthand from your parents, right? Being the first. So I think maybe it came from that, but also at the age of 19. I'm looking at myself at the age of 19. It's not about that life. So really, like the Gen Zs.
Thank you. To be fair, the reason I started working so young, because I basically I had a job by like first year. So I've worked much of my adult life, right? And the reason was actually because of my grandmother. I was looking at her and I was like, you're aging fairly quickly. And I really want to make sure that I can afford to sort of give back to her, my grandmother, that is. So it comes from the story around my dad and my mom, but more than that, going into the fact that my grandmother was aging. So I just looked at her and I was like, I really want to be able to give you like beautiful things and I want to be able to afford to buy you things. So I should probably go and go get a job. But that was now like the lucrative side of what I was doing. So the development side is where we're doing now the charity work, and then going to find a job and then working as a radio personality while in school. So
In school, like in university or high school?
University, yeah. So when I was in university, I had an events organization called the Aberco Events. Then I was working in radio and then doing charity work. But I guess I have energy. What was I gonna do with it?
What was I gonna do with it? Wow.
Yeah.
You're wired differently, I should say. So
Thank you.
what okay, I know you said what to do for fun, what brings you peace is popcorn and what not. But what brings you peace?
What brings me peace is God. So I went, and I'm going to tell you the story because I think it's very relevant to who I am as a person. So aspirationally, when we look at what the world teaches success is that it has to be accolade, it has to be achievement, and it has to be money, right? And so naturally, I bought into that idea that is sold to me when I was young.
Yeah,
so I went out there and it was about accolade, it was about achievement, and the accolades came, and the achievement came, but peace never followed. And so having worked as young as I was and really put so much pressure on myself at a very young age, I did come to a place where my body was like, bon voyage, okay? I'm out. And so when that incident happened in my life, my body literally stopped. It was like, I'm sorry, I can't live like this anymore. Because I was working constantly Monday to Sunday. Because aside from sort of being at school, then having to go to work, and then working 3 jobs, and then doing charity on the side, and there was a demand on my time. I was literally a workaholic in many ways, right? And so when my body gave in, and it didn't ask, it told me. It didn't wait for the perfect moment. It didn't wait for things to be okay and there were no deadlines. It quite literally just gave in. And I felt tormented when work was taken away because my identity had become work.
Yes.
And so when I went into the process of trying to sort of attain peace and try to find calm inside not being able to work, because it meant I only had what I would deem a version of peace because I was not working. No, because I was working. So because of the workaholic tendencies that I had and my entire identity having been rooted in accomplishment, titles, and work, when I couldn't work because my body was exhausted, I didn't know what else to do with myself, because if not work, then what?
Yeah.
Hobbies had fallen to the wayside. So I literally went into a space where I was anxious and couldn't find any form of peace at all. And what that season forced me to do was literally reckon with myself in that, who am I? When you take away the accolades, when you take away the achievements and all the things that have come, who's Mavis? Because quite literally, once you took those things away, there was nothing else left, right? Because of what I had started to believe was important. And so I finally got to a place where I was fasting and I was praying and I was like, Lord, like, why do I feel so tormented?
Yeah.
And the answer came very slowly after 2 weeks, if I must mention. God really took his time because I guess he wanted to know, do you really want to know the answer?
Yeah.
And the answer is that I was proud. That pride had basically captured my heart. And when we talk about pride, it's very complex, because pride quite literally means that the things of the world, accolades, achievement, and fame, and money, had become what it is I had deemed is important. And so to forego pride meant that I needed to be okay if these things were taken away, which is a very difficult thing, particularly because of the way the world operates, right? And so then I started on the journey of like foregoing pride, learning how to actually get to a place where I could say sorry when I'm wrong. I could understand that like the things that I have are not who I am more than that, and I'm loved by God, right? So in answer to your question of how do I find peace, it's quite literally to go back into the presence of God. Like that is my, and there's no other way to say it because it's true.
I love it. I love hearing stories or just people sharing the experience of where or how their relationship with God is and was, where God took them from, and the fact that you're publicly or openly saying that, I had to overcome pride. It's not something everybody is willing to admit that, I'm proud, or I was proud, or God told me not. I have to work on myself. Ask for forgiveness when, that's like, I won't go ask for forgiveness. I'll pray for them on the side, but going to say like,
it wasn't easy.
I can imagine. How was that journey like, and how long did it take you?
I think it's still ongoing, because I think contextually, maybe for anybody watching this and has no idea who I truly am, because I think I also did kind of vaguely speak to it, because when you ask me who is Mavis, I'm no longer my achievements. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm a Chevening scholar, I met the queen, like that, and those things are important and have really built my life in ways that I'm very profoundly grateful for, but they are not who I am. But to give context, in order for this to actually make sense, I think it is important to perhaps share. When I say accolades, what am I talking about? Right? So when I was 19, I started a charity organization. I then became the youngest I served as a founding, the word founding could be misconstrued, but I worked on the foundation as a board director of the One Economy Foundation, founded by Madam Monica Gengos in her term as the First Lady of Namibia. And I was 20 when I took that board seat. I then thereafter won what they call the Queen's Young Leaders Award by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, where I was then presented this at Buckingham Palace in London. And at that point I was 21. And so I've won the Vivid Philanthropy Award. I then hosted the Namas when I was 22, and then went on to host them twice thereafter. So, so when it comes to like accolade and achievement, and simply, so it is a lot. And I've lived a life where I can really be very grateful for all of the things that I've been blessed with. But you can imagine when you're 23 and all of these things are happening, you attach them to yourself, and now you walk around with your head held high on some, I met the queen, and you misunderstand that these are things that are put in your life where they came as a consequence of hard work, but they're not who you are. And the differentiating line between the accolades and who you are was very difficult to find a balance between. And so pride captured my heart, because now it was all about the next achievement. It was the next award, the next moment where somebody can say, congratulations, Mavis, and it was consistent also. The congratulations would constantly come because one or the other thing would happen. And honestly, I am, and may nobody listen to this and misunderstand the gratitude that I feel for those things. However, it did get to a place where that's who I believed I am. And the things that had started that journey completely became forgotten. And the people who had walked that journey to even get me there also become forgotten. When you sort of, wafikapo in Shwambo, translated, you have arrived, right? And so to forego pride and ego was incredibly difficult. For starters, I didn't even know what pride truly was until I had to study it to understand the ways in which I show up that way. Not knowing how to treat people, for starters. The most important, becoming a respecter of titles, not people. So when an honorable walks in, you are meek and you are humble. When somebody else that you deem lesser than walks in, all of a sudden your demeanor changes. And it's that thing of that everybody deserves the same level of respect, regardless their profession, regardless their title, because these are people. And to get to a place where you respect people, not titles, is quite literally then foregoing what you've deemed is important, which is accolade. I don't know why you're smiling.
I'm smiling because you've gained respect from me for just saying that.
Well, thank you, but respect was a big part of it, respecting people.
Okay, not in that sense. I mean, you've gained, is it confidence? I don't know.
I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And my response to that is that you say that, but it's interesting that I had to learn respect.
Oh, okay.
In that respect is not something that I could choose and pick who to give it to. It had to be a blanketed approach. Everybody that you come into contact with deserves respect, regardless their title.
Yes.
And I often don't like it when people make examples of where somebody would say, it matters to me how you treat a waitress and how you treat the cleaner. But then you've already done the hierarchical thing, because you are now saying that these are the people that you deem oftentimes people do not respect, which is true, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't personally use that as an example, because people are just people. And the thing is, all of the things that we've sort of like grandiosed ourselves about and sort of like made up in our heads are so material that you could lose them. And once you lose those things, does that mean that I should lose respect for you? Question mark.
Yeah.
And often people do respect the title. And as soon as you're CEO and you lose the title tomorrow, people don't treat you the way that they used to treat you when you were CEO. But I as I continue to learn, because it's a learning journey, I'm teaching myself, and I call myself out on it when I'm like, why don't you greet the guy who just should have go back, go greet. Because you get so busy, you're on your phone. The guy who opens the gate for you at when you're going into a venue, you don't even say hi, because you don't have respect for the person. You almost don't even see their humanity. And is that not the most sad thing, to feel so invisible?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just very passionate about it, but it's also because I was that person.
Yeah.
So I also can't speak about it as though that isn't who I used to
be.
There was a time that I'd walk past and you just cannot see the person, because you've let the things of the world get to your heart so much, so that, and as soon as the honorable walks in, you are to attention.
How was your relationship with your family then?
So I've always, at least in that regard, I haven't done too badly.
Okay.
I've always made sure that I hold family to great regard. I hope they can say the same. No, but I've kept my family very close. And I think it was because that was at least the one place I could show up and just be myself. Because I also started to feel like I couldn't be myself in the world. And when I say the world, it just meant any place outside of home.
Yeah.
You had to put on this face and this aura of I have arrived, and you kind of needed to continue to do that as you're sort of building a career. And I do think it is important in some spaces to show up with confidence, and not even some spaces, because confidence needs to be something that you carry with you. But at home, I didn't do none of that. So at least I didn't have to go home and go restore relationships.
And friendships?
No, I kept a close. So you see,
or you have like a smaller circle
very
that you
small,
kept it? Okay.
very small. I have a very small circle of friends, and also I guess it's interesting that like I struggled with ego, but I didn't struggle with humility inside my friendships.
Okay.
So I think when I would come in contact with my friends, I'd allow them to sort of see me fully, all versions of me, broken, sad, happy, achieving. And then I've also been very blessed with amazing friends, but I think it's also because they are so great in their own right. So we didn't operate, or still don't operate, in a space where it's almost like when you come into the space you must put on your title. It was never like that, and it still isn't like that. So friendships and family spaces, I think, have always been a place where God has really blessed me to be continuously able to just be myself. I think, but also I could always be myself in the other spaces I chose not to be. So one wouldn't also now try to scrutinize the spaces and be like, did they require that of you? They didn't. That was my decision to show up that way. And I think in having learned to forgo ego and pride, I found that I did that to myself, because the decision was always mine as to how it is I choose to show up in spaces.
I think somebody is watching or listening and they're like, oh yeah, you could say that now because you've been there. We also want to get there.
And then go learn it. It's almost like money will change me, but let money first change me and then I will try.
What would you say to them?
I think it's such an interesting question, because being a decent human being is not something that you must go and go learn after accolade. And when I say a decent human being, it's also not to say that I was indecent. This is the posture of my heart that I'm speaking about, because I can come and smile and wave, but it's also about the posture of my heart when I show up in those spaces and what I'm thinking internally. So outside, you could be receiving people with the utmost grace and respect, but it's a question of how do you think yourself better than other people? Do you think some people deserve more respect than others? And sometimes it's simply about watch yourself around people who have titles. Just watch yourself, and watch yourself when that person leaves. How do you act? And oftentimes that will hold your answer. But to your question around somebody who says, no, let me have received all of those things so that I can also learn the lessons myself. I think some lessons you don't have to learn that way. You can listen to somebody else who has walked the journey and choose to take from what they're saying so that you can also rectify yourself, and maybe you don't have to go through all of that. Because I led with saying that I was a workaholic, which meant that my entire identity was rooted in work. And so it's basically being able to say that life is so diverse and has so many different facets. There's family, there's friends, there's sports, there's so many different parts of who you are. There's mental health, there's well-being, and if you so choose to only nurture one area of your life, it means that you forgo much more that life has to offer. I mean, I would reckon that had I continued down that path, deciding to even take care of my physical health would have been something that I would quite gladly have forgone as a consequence of there's more important things to do. But what could possibly be more important than your physical health? Given the fact that it's the body and the vessel that must carry you in all the spaces that you show up in.
Sure.
So, I think if anybody was watching this and had that question, the first thing that I would challenge you to do is do work on who you are and identity. And that will make sure that the way you are going, the person who shows up in those areas is somebody who is living fully in who they are, centered, and not for external validation and not for the external appeasement of what people see when they come into contact with you. Because I think that's where true joy and happiness is found, in my personal humble opinion.
How's your relationship, or how's your walk with God? What are you learning? I know it's a lot of questions, but what are you finding surprisingly about God?
Oh, then I don't have to carry it all. I carried
that's the best part of it.
So much. Yeah. I was out here, I look back at that and I'm like, what torment was that? Woo! I don't recommend 0 out of 10. No. So I think currently my walk with God is learning to let go of control. Control shows up in the fact that you can't even trust him in particular areas of your life, because for you must do it because she's the man, So, and I still struggle. Yeah? This is an area of my life that is going to take some time.
Yeah.
Me and Jesus are working through it. I have trust issues, because I must know how it's going to go, when it's going to go, what time it's going to go. I need to know. But being able to sort of learn what I need to control and what I don't need to control, which areas to trust God in, so that you can clear up mental space for other things.
Don't you just feel lighter knowing that, I don't need to worry about that?
Yeah.
God.
It's still tough. Yeah, it's very, very tough, because I don't even know if it's perfectionism. Is it perfectionism?
I think it's type A.
But it's something.
Which I think you are from what you
It's something.
They have a problem with just letting go. They want to know of the results, the preparations, the journey, the end results. But at times, we sometimes have a detour, and then you're like, but yeah.
No, I hear you.
I love. Isn't my smile? The moment you mentioned God, I was like, yes.
But I mean, who are we without him? Well, I learned that the hard way. Ooh, I know it was hard. You know, that season, right? And I feel very like, I feel like we should talk about it. That season was so tough now that I now needed to obviously not work at that point because my body was like, I'm not doing this. So it's like, okay, fine, you know. And then I went to the farm trying to find peace. Surely if there's stars and there's no network, surely peace will find me. Nope. I was at the farm, I think, for a week. No peace. Okay, fine. Come back to Bantu. I went for massages every single day for 1 week. Even the I just can't relax. Like I can't find peace.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And I went to Swakop. Because I was like, surely the ocean. Like, come on, man. Like the ocean, surely the waves and the ocean breeze. I said, guys, which one is this one? So then I came back to Windhoek and I had to go back to work because you can only be out of work for so long. And then, peace is not finding me. Man. So then I obviously went into prayer and fasting and like tussling with God on some like.
What made you start praying? Or were you not praying before then?
I guess I was praying, but maybe mildly.
Okay.
It was more like, oh, Jesus, please help me find peace. And then you move on with your life because you're in control, right?
Yeah.
It's that thing of like, you're not foregoing control and being able to understand that you can't do this without God. And you're basically still stuck in the fact that you are in charge and you can figure this thing out by yourself. And I tried all of the, you know, I even tried to meditate. Okay, let me clear my head. The peace wouldn't come. And then when I started fasting and praying, I literally, the only way I can describe what I was going through is I felt tormented. Like there's no other way. I felt, when I say the word tormented.
And that's mentally, right?
Yeah, like my brain wouldn't keep quiet. But remember, it was rooted in the workaholic part of me. And the fact that now when you're not achieving and you're not constantly churning out productivity, that now the sense of self is completely foregone because now the entire, when they say I am, you know, I am hardworking, I am, this part became, it basically started to shake because now I'm not operating optimally because obviously I prided myself in the fact that I am result orientated, I can get the job done. And so now when physically my body then went into, I was basically burnt out in more normal terms, right? And so feeling tormented was because I couldn't show up in the world the way that I had always shown up because my body was saying, I can't do this, I'm tired, right? And so now I can't mentally sort of like appease myself with all of these things that we tell ourselves around, you know, I'm hardworking, I'm an achiever, I'm accomplished, I am all of those I ams, right? And so when I was not trying to find peace and I couldn't find it, it was because the brain was doing this thing where it was like, you see, you can't even. So it's tormenting you quite literally, right? It's and this internal mental chatter was not very healthy because it was so there was a large level of self-critique that was happening. So the internal voice is criticizing consistently, constantly of you should be and we should be and we should be doing this and we should be trying to, and it's like I can't do that right now. And then the brain is like, no, but we must. And it's like, shh, quiet, you know? But I couldn't get my internal voice to keep quiet. And I think it's important to sort of like set that context. And so now when I started praying and I started fasting, it was basically to reckon with God and be like, why can I not find peace? And it did not come immediately. Like I couldn't hear God's voice. Like there was just no response. And I'm like, Lord, hallows. You know, and this went on for I think a week and a half after having tried the farm, the massages and swako. And eventually, because at this point I was almost crying every morning also because there was no peace, right? And so now I'm getting up to get dressed and go to work and like my body is fighting, it doesn't want. So now again continuously praying and I'm like, Lord, like talk to me. And then like a still voice was like, you are proud. I'm like, proud. But something did break in me. And then I started weeping and crying. Because I guess whatever it is that I was, did this. Like, I let go of whatever, I don't know. And then once You Are Proud came, I had to study what is pride, what is proud. Like, because I guess when we hear the word proud, is it like I'm proud of you? Or like what is pride actually? And what is ego? And now that ego work of understanding how it is you show up in the world very egotistically or in a way that you're proud and what has captured your heart. And when I say captured your heart in a way that maybe like can be well understood, is what do you deem important? What, when you wake up in the morning for you, is so important that you show up for it. And what are the things that have basically, you have put so much weight on that without these things you just can't imagine life. And for some people it would be that, once I'm in that AMG and it's amazing. But that means that's where your heart is. For you, it's the fact that the people must see, and the fact that it's a material thing that will give you in your mind joy, because unfortunately they don't give you joy. Or it could be that I must become that title, whatever title that is in your mind, and so you will do anything to get that. And I'm gonna tread on something, and I'm really gonna try to explain it properly so that it lands well. When people say that you've given your heart over to something, I don't think we actually understand what they mean. It's that this thing is so important to you that without it, everything loses meaning, right? And so for somebody, it might be that you must continuously progress in your career. For another, it might be that this business must make it and I must build generational wealth. And so the way that you show up in the world every single day is that thing must be achieved at all costs. Now the word all costs, what is the cost? Because we think all costs is that I'm going to work so hard and I'm going to work every night and no. All cost is you're not spending time with your family, you're not taking care of your health, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, you're not treating people well. Whatever this thing in the middle called cost, we kind of like all cost and then we move on. What is cost? What is it that you're willing to sacrifice? Is it yourself? Is it your dignity? Is it your what's the word? When you do things right, you are what? There's a word for it. Integrity. Is it your integrity? What is the cost? And we read in the papers all the time what people's costs were. The papers will tell you what, because that's usually where the story is told. What was the cost that you are willing to forego in order to be able to get this thing that you have decided in your mind is important? I can openly share what mine is. Mine, I had basically gotten to a place where ambition had captured my heart, so much so that I was willing to give it all. I was willing to work till 9 p.m. every day. I was willing to work 7 days a week. I was willing to forego family time. I was willing to forego quality time with friends. I was willing to forego a healthy, balanced life for this. And when you say it, it's like, yeah, but that's what hard work takes. But there's also the contrary. There is the fact that you can healthily decide to go after the things that you want and make sure that there is balance, that family is important, health is important, eating well is important, building a family, like I'm talking about close family unit of like a husband, children, and so forth. And I guess it's this conversation, and I think many times when we talk about well-being, we don't have the conversation in contrast to what it is people are actually struggling with. We're like, no, you must learn how to meditate. Important, but what's making you not meditate? Oh no, you must learn how to work out and you must go to the gym at least 2-3, or at least go for a walk, get outside. But what's impeding you from doing that? And once you can have the conversation maybe holistically, around what people are sacrificing in order to be able to get ahead or whatever it is you've deemed important, it puts it into perspective. And I think that the people who have healthy family units are the people who've actually cracked the code in understanding what's important. And when we say what is important, the answers are usually very simple. We talk about one day when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to think about? Those are the things that are important. And no. It's
true. It's true. And I love how you said it. I said it right, and I love how you explained it, you break it down. And maybe my next question would be, how do you then define wellness today?
I think balance and everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Too much of anything is not good for you. Everything in moderation, so that I can go see a friend instead of going to go continue working. Because I was at work until 5, right? Or until 6 or 7. But at least let there be something else that nourishes your soul. Making sure that you spend time with God. Because I find that when you spend time with God, that's really you centering yourself. Going back to center of self, right? Making sure that you find time to laugh. Yeah, going to just laughter. It sounds so simple, but when was the last time you laughed? I mean, laughed until you cried, laughter.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In your season of working before the burnout, were you laughing?
Oh, no, my dear, there was no time to laugh. As we had things to do, places to be, and people to see. It was terrible. It was, and the thing is, on Instagram, people are like, "Oh, you're so inspiring," because you are working, right? You're putting out. I remember, you're putting out one or the other event. You are at work. You are at a charity event. You are working. And I think when people are like, you're so inspiring, they're actually looking at your work ethic. And I think there's nothing wrong with work ethic, and there's nothing wrong with hard work. I am not saying there's anything wrong with hard work, but there's everything wrong with not having balance.
Yeah. Because
surely you must rest. People used to even say things like, how do you do it? And then I'll be like, it's all up. I'm so sorry for the stuff I told you guys. But that's what I believed at the time, to be fair. It's about making sure you've got a schedule and you must stick to the schedule. And discipline is things that are important.
Yeah.
All of those things are important, but in moderation and with balance. Because if not with moderation and if not with balance, then the question is, what are you chasing? And really, if we're to be very honest, sometimes it's my family that told me that I'll not become anything must see that I became something. If you are really to dig deep, you would find it's people always said that I would become nothing, and or you'd be like, no, my friends used to laugh at me when I used to come with a cab, now they must see me in a car. If you really just dig deep, just a little deeper, you'll find that sometimes it's never really rooted in the right thing. I mean, some people would be like, it's respectable because you're trying to build generational wealth for generations to come. Why can the generations not work for themselves? And I think that if somebody is able to crack that, kudos. As long as at least you lived a life that you can look back at and be happy with.
With no regrets. Okay, yes, one will have regrets, but not as much as I wish I could have just spent time.
Yes. And I also spend a lot of time reading, and a lot of the people would be like, I accumulated all of this and I was not happy. Or I should have gone to my child's basketball game, but I chose not to. But nothing was going to burn or fall apart if I hadn't. Or if I had gone to the basketball game. But look, I don't have kids. I'm not married. And there's a lot of things about life that I'm yet to learn. And I just hope that maybe I can put a disclaimer to anybody listening to this, that somebody might be like, but you still have a lot to learn about life, which is absolutely true. Today, where I'm standing with the knowledge that I have, this is my current epiphany.
Yeah.
And priorities will change and life will continue to teach. And I'm very open to those lessons that life will teach. But today, where I'm standing with the God that I love, dearly. I am at a place where I'm like, I have forgone ego and pride, and I'm putting my heart in the things that matter. And for me, what matters is family, friends, a healthy body, mind, soul, and spirit, and making sure that I continue to do that which sets me alive. And I love to work, but as long as I don't develop a very unhealthy relationship with work, basically. That's it.
I love that. I don't want to add to anything because you said it so well. And I would like us to go to, you are an academic, right?
Mhm.
Can you maybe just go through that journey? What is academic?
Education is a very, like they say, it's the greatest equalizer. And there are people who understand that they need to use education to get to where they need to go. And that's the world we live in, right? When you apply for a job, they first ask you what is your qualification and so forth. I think the only thing is do what you love. So I did civil engineering, graduated. I did civil engineering for the wrong reasons. I did civil engineering because one day in class they asked me, or asked all of us, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And my answer was, I want to be a civil engineer. Now I'm very girly, like, wigs, nails, we got it. And the class laughed, right? And they were like, you, an engineer, And then I decided Excel in a base. That's not the reason to go study engineering, colleagues. Like, I mean, I thank God for brains and all of the things in between, and I'm so glad I was able to graduate, but I didn't do it for the right reasons. And who's to say that I actually wasn't going to fall in love with engineering had I just chosen it for the right things, right? So I went through engineering, and maybe that's why I was distracting myself with all the other things that I was doing, but I was not passionate. I was not passionate about roads and construction, and there are people who are, but I'm not one of them. So then I ended up having to go pivot my career. And then I went to go do now development, which is truly where my heart is. So I did a master's in globalization, business and development. But I love to learn for what it's worth. So at least having done civil engineering did speak to the part of me that loves to learn. And then I went to go do a certificate in big data, did another one in resource mobilization. So I love education and what it does to opening your mind up to either analytical thinking or being able to just, because I really believe the education system is simply teaching you how to think.
Yeah.
Personally, right? So in as far as the journey, I think just enjoy it, right? But I also know that there sometimes are like impeding factors, like if you don't qualify for a scholarship or you don't qualify for a bursary. So I'm not blind to the fact that not everybody has the same opportunities in life. And I also couldn't have done a master's in the UK without a scholarship. So I did then apply for the Chevening scholarship because I really wanted to do a master's, because I had to now pivot my career from doing something that I truly love. So civil engineering helped me learn analytical thinking. So in the end, it did work out to my benefit, because I am an analytical thinker as a consequence of having done civil engineering. But I think at the core of it is also just being willing to do the hard work, and making sure that you get out of the education system, because sometimes people get stuck in it, can't graduate because you're just not going through, and get the help that you need in order to be able to get through it, and then apply for opportunities. There's so many out in the world. I've traveled to many places in the world with like fellowships and scholarships, and like I think for the first give or take 7, 8, 9 years of after like university life into post-university life, all of the travel that I did was from applying for international opportunities. So you've got to bet on yourself for starters.
But maybe some people don't have the knowledge or the opportunity or
the spaces to find it. So I used to look on a website called Opportunities for Africans. I'm sure it still exists. It's probably a lot bigger than what it was during my time. And I know that today, when you go on LinkedIn, they've got these pages you follow where they always like post opportunities. On Instagram, they've got opportunities for youth, opportunities for Africa. Literally look for the word opportunities and you'll find all these pages and you follow them, right? Or go onto the websites and then you just check every other time. But you must get very comfortable with rejection very quickly. Huh? You must grow a thick skin very fast because they will regret to inform you. Because I applied to so many opportunities that when I look at my mail, I was like, let's see if this is the one. Because we regret to inform you was my daily bread and butter. Now I'm just looking for opportunity. And if I got one opportunity, I probably applied for 6 other things that said no. Or maybe even 15 other things. You know what people don't even know about the chevening journey? Is that I had folders, né, of like schools, scholarships, whichever, where I just filed the rejection letters. And those things, by the time I got the chevening opportunity, were 205. That means 205 applications before I got chevening. No, you must be willing to do it that. It's like, I'm not even joking, like it's
Over
true.
200 and you did not give up?
Oh no. At least resilience God gave me in abundance. Like, but it's because I didn't take it personally. I knew that I was
No.
betting against the world.
Yeah.
The world was looking for the same things I'm looking for. So I've got to be willing to do it. And applying had become something I did daily. So I'll apply for a fellowship today, a scholarship tomorrow, because they've got these like fully paid fellowships, and I love to travel. So me, I was looking for travel. I was not looking for people's fellowship. I wanted to go see Paris and Spain and France, but I needed to find a mechanic, and that for me was my mechanic. I literally used these opportunities to see the world, and it worked. I got to travel and see the world through opportunities from these fellowships.
So what I'm hearing is that they should be ready, they should apply
And get used to
and get used to the rejection. And I just forgot what I wanted to say.
You gotta
No.
shoot your shot.
Yes, yeah, shoot your shot, but I was about to say, what about now with the world full of scams and all that? How did you navigate around that? Were you ever scammed or fallen victim?
I think the mainly the time that I saw like scams come through into my inbox was when I was looking for jobs abroad.
Okay.
The fellowships, I think you can always see whether the institution is credible quite quickly, even just through the application process. And you can Google the pages to see. But jobs is a bit more tricky because the scammers could just create like a Facebook page with like JD dot whatever, and then they'd put like images to make it look authentic. And especially like when they've been scamming for a long time, you'd even see like historical information for maybe the past 5 years because they've been doing this for 5 years. And so if it's too good to be true, it usually is. I remember this one opportunity. I was still doing engineering at the time, and I was applying for an engineering job in New York. And then an opportunity came through, and the salary, I said, whoa, Jesus is good. And I think it was like, give or take, I think I was going to be an engineer in training, but in NAD it was like 205,000.
Monthly.
Oh, I was ready to take the world, you know. But when you see it, your gut is like, for an engineering training. But then you convince yourself on like, no, maybe it's a foreign currency conversion. But your intuition, the intuitive part of you is like, it's not possible. But you are like, my God is good. And God really is good, and these things do happen, but you can evaluate that this is not, you know? And so then I started asking them questions. They sent the contract, and when they sent the contract, it was in a PNG, like an image.
Yeah.
Your intuition is like,
Yeah.
But the way scammers work is that your want must be so much bigger than your intuition. That's what they bet on, right? Is that your hunger for the opportunity will make you blind to things that are obvious. But you have to pay attention because and it's usually things like you have to pay 10% before what. Those are usually the giveaways.
Love that so much. I had questions prepared, but I'm like, I don't, because even me myself, I've learned a lot. It was lovely. We're not done. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It was lovely just learning or relearning. Because I hadn't had a conversation with you in like years. Like years. By the time we were like,
Yeah, I mean, contextually, we grew up together in Zulu.
so I'm like, wow,
Mm.
love the woman that you're becoming.
Thank you.
And the fact that you just, God is
I was
in
very
it.
honest, and I really hope you guys don't make me regret this level of honesty. Because some people choose to misconstrue what it is that you say, and really, hopefully, what it is I was trying to communicate outweighs perhaps the ways in which it was shared and said. Like, I shouldn't make me regret my vulnerabilities, please.
They won't.
So I do know that pride and ego is something that I feel very, very passionate about and speaking on, because I know what it feels like to live that way, and I don't. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not even consciously when people are feeling and living this way. So I think that's why I so strongly feel the need to speak on it. Is it a lot?
No, I love it, but it's also not the way I was hoping it will turn out.
And I think
I
sometimes
like
that's okay, right?
Questions?
Sometimes that's okay for the conversation to take itself where it needs to.
Yes. And I don't want to add onto that because you said it so well, and I believe people will. They're going to listen and watch. They will understand you, and they will resonate with you, and they will appreciate the honesty because, I mean, if one is vulnerable, I mean, people can even see through one's vulnerability, if I could say. And I appreciate it. I'm appreciating it. I'm appreciating your vulnerability.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's go through a few asks. Okay, now we can get back here because I don't want to ask a lot of questions because I feel like it will take away from what you've just said, and it was really strong, powerful.
And I'm happy for us to end it here because I think we've shared a lot of what needed to be said.
Yeah.
And I think if there are sort of like follow-up questions from anybody watching, then I'm happy to share some answers with you.
Ooh. Would you be willing to come back if they say, we want more, we want more?
Absolutely, sure. I'd love that.
Okay.
I think you hold a very special place in my heart. I think that because we grew up together as children, it is always very important to make sure that when your community is building something which you are doing, that one also reaches back and also give a helping hand when you need, without wanting anything in return. Because I think many a times people say we want to see people win but never see people do better than us. And I think that's just not a very healthy way to look at things, because we all have our different journeys to walk and our different paths. And if this is the one that God has placed in your life, very happy to support and be a part of your journey. And you've done incredible for yourself, to be very honest. You've done amazing things. I watched when I was on TikTok your videos on weddings, and obviously worked with you as well. So you're doing amazing, and I have no doubt that you have a lot to give the world, and I'm glad that you heeded the call from God to actually get up and do the work.
Thank you. I almost didn't, right? I was like, nah, that's not me. Let's not go that way. Somebody else. But God is like, when God placed something on your heart,
Yeah.
and you are like, you know what? This is what I want.
Choose somebody else. You see, few are chosen.
But many are called.
Many are called, few are chosen. And if that's the mantle that God has placed on you, then heed it.
Thank you. Get so shy. Because I'm the one used to giving, not the one who said, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much. Last 2 questions. Yeah? What for somebody that is listening, what advice would you give to them Not necessarily of what you said, but just life in general. I know you've mentioned them quite a lot. If they were listening attentively, I'm sure you would have gotten like nuggets from them, from you.
I think many a times we're looking for somebody externally to tell us what we already know internally. Because even in the question that you asked, there is someone who wants a response that either affirms what they already know or at least points them in the direction that they already know. And my honest perception is that you're probably listening to this and something was coming to heart, and it's just trusting yourself enough to actually do that which you know you should do. And I think self-trust would be the first place that you start, because nobody knows better than you what it is that's right for you. It's just being able to take that step forward. And like what you said, this was placed on you for you to start a podcast, but it was one of those where like, should I not? I don't know if I'm about that. But in heeding the call, because everybody has a call in their life, it's just whether or not you're courageous enough to actually take up the mantle.
Sure.
So trust yourself. You know exactly what you need. You know exactly what you need to do. Do it. And sometimes when we say do it, we also expect instant change or instant feedback. Or no, sometimes you have to start the journey to where it is you need to go, and it might take some time, but start it nonetheless.
What's the best advice you've ever received, and from who?
There was Desiree, she's Obal now. She said to me that every opportunity is a stage for your next opportunity. And I've taken that very seriously, meaning that I don't take anything for granted. I don't treat anything as small. I treat everything to the best of my abilities, and I give it everything that I've got, because sometimes you only get one shot, and you must make sure that you at least bet it on it properly. So ever since she told me that, treat every opportunity as an interview. No, treat every stage as an interview for your next opportunity. And I do that.
I love that, because it reminded me of like every wedding that I ever did or have done. It's like I have to give my best in
because
that,
your next bride is in the hall.
Yes. So when you said that, that's the first thing that came to mind. So
it's usually how things go. But sometimes we think that we can be lackadaisical in one space, and then no, your colleagues are watching you at work, my dear.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow they're like, how does that go to? And they're like, no. Because everything that you do, people, you're leaving an impression in spaces. And I'm not saying perform for people.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you have to be true to yourself, because sometimes we're like, no, I can be lazy in this job and then I'll do well at my next job. There's no such thing. Because how it is you prove yourself here is exactly the attitude that you'll carry forward in the next space. You know, I wear suits to work. No? Doesn't matter if it's Tuesday afternoon and today our only thing is to go and go. I don't know. Because I genuinely believe in that. If I teach myself that I can show up to work like today's or today, that's the attitude that I'll carry for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So for me, I believe, like in Oshwambo they say which in English translates to the body gets used to things quickly, or habit forms quickly, maybe. And so the way that you show up in any space is probably how you're going to show up in. There's no such thing as, oh no, in this relationship I can just be terrible, but really when I meet my husband, there's no such thing, because who you are today is who you're teaching yourself to be consistently, because the body draws data and that becomes who you ultimately are as a human being. So when we say that treat every stage as an interview for your next opportunity, I think people are probably also, or rather more often than not, it's perceived to be the next big moment, the next. No, I'm talking about every day. I'm talking about the what you do every single day. For example, if you say I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, you don't go to the gym. You're teaching your body that, oh, here it's we can just say we'll do things and then we don't do it. Or you go to work and you there's just no level of like care for presentation. That's how you're going to be continuously. And I take that thing so seriously. The habit thing. Things like making up your bed. I'm like, Somebody will be like, yeah, but you make up your bed 5 days. Why not just the Saturday? No, because if I don't do it this Saturday, then I won't do it the other Saturday, then the next Monday, then a habit is formed.
Yeah.
So I really guard against the formation of habits, or rather, try to instill the right habits.
Yeah. I'm smiling because we, the second pillar of the Purpose and Glow Hub is community, and the second part, which is the collective, where we focus on 6 daily habits per day, just to train yourself to.
Yep.
And those are like, there are little steps, which is like getting to work on time.
Oh, Mavis, say it now. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
Making up your bed. And some of the people in the collective, is just one of the simplest, just like reading your Bible on a day-to-day. Oh, that's like a very good habit to train yourself, to train your body to. Reading, some studying, some are studying, you know, different things depending on the person. So when we say that, it's just to train your body, because habits done over time, they can I say form who you are? They become you.
They become who you are.
And the moment you tell yourself, okay, let me not do this today, just for today, I'm not done it, then you're telling your mind that it's okay to take breaks. But that's not what you want.
Yeah. I think I would even encourage somebody to go and read up on the Johari's window. This is, sometimes there's a space between who you think you are versus who you actually are. And then somebody might be formulating all the bad habits, but in their mind, they believe themselves to be something else. And so Johari's window is basically the in-between who you truly are and who you think you are. And so I think that when you formulate habits that take you to who you truly want to be in the future, like as in like when I'm thinking about Mavis and I'm like, this is who I see Mavis as, the formulation of those habits is that you must close this window.
Yeah.
So that you're not operating thinking that you're hardworking but you're consistently showing up not as, or you're fit but you're consistently not going to go work out. So this window needs to be closed, which is why you would find that somebody's fighting themselves where they just cannot get to a place where they eat healthier, but in their mind they're like, oh, I really want to be fit and I want to be comfortable in my body, etc. So it's just closing this window. And that's 5 habits.
And at times as well, just to add on to what you said, to close off, in doing the habits, you get to actually learn who you really are or truly are, and say, okay, this is where I want to be, but that's not the right path. Let me rather change or say, no. But
Change
you have
around.
got to do something. But you have to be doing something in order for you to notice and realize and be like,
that's my relationship with fitness. That thing is hard. But we're getting there.
At least you know about it, you are cognizant of it. You get that. You just need to put it to work. I know you will. I mean, doing a marathon, yeah.
It was tough.
So, Mavis, thank you so much for just agreeing to come and having this conversation with me. I'm sure the listeners, the viewers would appreciate, would love you so much. I know they already do. But yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really, really grateful for the conversation, just to be able to have a candid, open conversation. And I wish you well on the journey. And I can't wait to see the growth. And I'm sure you're really building something worthwhile.
Thank you. So that was my conversation with Mavis. Absolutely loved having this conversation. It was more like a catch-up because, you know. And if you are watching this episode up until this point, what should they do? What emoji should they use?
A heart. A red heart.
A red heart. Please give a red heart in the comment section, and I appreciate you guys so much for watching. This is the Purpose and Glow podcast. My name is Pamela. This is the last episode of season 3. Please stay tuned for more updates. So stay in purpose and keep shining. Bye-bye.